All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something that is absolutely critical for any organization, the survival blueprint that keeps a business from going under when disaster strikes. Let's just jump right in with a pretty scary number. According to industry reports, a staggering 90% of small businesses that get hit by a major disaster, well, they shut down for good within just 2 years. Yeah, that number, it's pretty alarming, right? It really forces every single organization, big or small, to ask itself one very tough question. How do you actually prepare for the unthinkable? Well, the answer, the way you prepare, is through a strategic framework called Business Continuity Management, or BCM for short. But, and this is a big but, there are two terms inside of BCM that people mix up all the time, even though they are fundamentally different. So before we can even think about building a solid plan, we've got to get this straight. It's absolutely essential to understand the difference between business continuity and disaster recovery. I love this way of thinking about it. Imagine your house catches on fire. Disaster recovery? That's the fire department showing up, hoses blazing, putting out the actual fire. But business continuity, that's the bigger plan. That's knowing which hotel you're going to stay in, how the kids are still going to get to school, and how you'll keep working while the house gets rebuilt. See the difference? So let's break that down. Disaster recovery is all about the now. It's tactical. Its whole job is to stop the bleeding and recover the technology. We're talking about restoring servers, getting networks back up, and recovering your data. It's that immediate, hands-on IT response. Now, business continuity, on the other hand, it's strategic. It's the 30,000-foot view. This is the master plan to keep the entire business afloat, often by using workarounds and temporary fixes, until everything is 100% back to normal. Okay, so you're probably thinking, where do I even begin with all this? Well, it all starts by figuring out what is most important to your business. And the tool you use for that is something called a business impact analysis, or a BIA. The entire purpose of a BIA is to sift through everything your company does and separate the absolute must-haves from the nice-to-haves. And what's so critical about a BIA is that it forces you to think way beyond just servers and software. You have to consider the whole ripple effect. What's the impact on your customers, your finances, your reputation in the market? And maybe most importantly, what about your people? And this is a really structured process. You don't just guess. You start by listing out all your key business functions. Then you systematically figure out what each one depends on, how they're all connected, and what happens if one of them goes down. That is how you build your real list of priorities. Okay, so the BIA tells us what to save first. But the next massive question is how fast? And to answer that, we use four really crucial metrics. First up is MTD, which stands for Maximum Tolerable Downtime. Think of this as your doomsday clock. This is the absolute latest you can have a critical function offline before things get, well, really, really bad. We're talking irreversible damage. Next, we have the RPO, or Recovery Point Objective. Now, this one isn't about time to recover, it's about data loss. It basically asks the question, how much data can we stand to lose and still survive? So if your RPO is 1 hour, you better be backing up your data at least every hour. Then there's the RTO, the Recovery Time Objective. This is your internal goal. The MTD is the hard deadline you can't miss, but the RTO is the target time you're actually aiming for to get a specific service back online. And finally, there's WRT, Work Recovery Time. And honestly, this is the one people always forget. Just because the servers are back on doesn't mean you're back in business. WRT is all the time it takes to catch up on backlogs and get people and processes humming again. And this timeline just pulls it all together so clearly. You see the event happens. You got your RPO for data loss, you walk to meet your RTO, and then you have your WRT. Here is the golden rule. Your RTO plus your WRT has got to be less than your MTD. If it's not, your plan has a serious flaw. So, we have our priorities from the BIA, and we have our timelines from these metrics. How do we wrap this all up into something we can actually use? Well, you put it all into a formal, actionable plan. A really comprehensive plan has a clear life cycle. It covers how you activate it, how you recover, how you keep the business going in the meantime, all the way through to getting back to normal. And then there's that last step, which is critical, maintenance and review. It never really ends. And that brings us to maybe the single most important takeaway from all of this.
A business continuity plan is not some document you create once, check a box, and file away in a drawer.
An old plan can be dangerous because it gives you a false sense of security. See, a plan isn't a document. It's a living, breathing process. It has to be exercised, maintained, and revised. So the real question to ask is, when was the last time you actually tested yours? Because that's the only way to know if your survival blueprint will actually work when you need it most.